The bullet was already flying toward the school entrance when Marcus Williams made the most important decision of his life. He had 2 seconds to choose: grab his daughter and run to safety, or step forward and become the only thing standing between a gunman and 300 innocent children. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Williams woke up at 5:30 a.m., just like every other Tuesday. The alarm clock buzzed loudly in the small apartment he shared with his 6-year-old daughter Emma. He quickly turned it off so it wouldn't wake her up. She needed her sleep for school. Marcus was tired. He worked 2 jobs every day. During the day he worked at a construction site building houses. At night he worked at a grocery store helping customers and stocking shelves. The money was never enough, but he did his best for Emma. Emma was the most important person in his life. When she was only 2 years old, her mother left them. She said taking care of a baby was too hard for her. Since that day Marcus raised Emma all by himself. He didn't mind. Emma made him happy every single day. Every morning Marcus would make Emma's breakfast. Usually it was cereal and milk, sometimes toast with jam. Then he would brush her curly brown hair and put it in pigtails. Emma always giggled when he tried to make her hair look pretty. He wasn't very good at it, but he tried his best. After breakfast, Marcus would pack Emma's lunch in her small pink lunchbox. He always put a little note inside that said, "Daddy loves you," with a smiley face. Emma loved finding these notes at lunchtime. That Tuesday morning, Emma was very excited. She ran into the kitchen wearing her favorite blue dress and white shoes. "Daddy, Daddy, today we're making art at school," she said, jumping up and down. "What kind of art, baby girl?" Marcus asked, smiling at her excitement. "A rainbow. I'm going to paint a big, beautiful rainbow for you," Emma said, spreading her arms wide to show how big it would be. Marcus knelt down to her level and gave her a big hug. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. I can't wait to see it. You have to promise to put it on the refrigerator, okay? Right next to my other pictures," Emma said seriously. "I promise," Marcus said. "Right next to all your other beautiful artwork." They walked hand in hand down Maple Street toward Roosevelt Elementary School. It was Emma's favorite part of the day. She would swing their hands back and forth and tell him about her dreams from the night before. Sometimes she would sing songs she learned at school. "Daddy," Emma said as they walked, "Mrs. Johnson says I'm the best artist in the whole class." "That's because you are very talented, baby girl," Marcus said proudly. "Will you help me hang my rainbow in my bedroom too?" she asked. "Of course. We can put it anywhere you want," Marcus replied. As they got closer to the school, Marcus noticed something strange. There were more parents than usual standing around outside. They looked worried and were talking in small groups. Some were pointing toward the school building. Marcus felt something was wrong. His heart started beating faster. He pulled Emma a little closer to his side. "What's happening, Daddy?" Emma asked. She could tell something was different too. "I don't know, sweetheart. But don't worry. Everything will be okay," Marcus said, trying to sound calm. Marcus listened to the other parents talking. Someone said there had been threats against the school. The police were coming, but they hadn't arrived yet. Most parents were staying far away from the school building, waiting to see what would happen. Marcus looked toward the main entrance of the school. That's when he saw something that made him very scared. A young man in a dark hoodie was walking toward the school doors. He had his hand inside his jacket and Marcus could see there was something there. The man looked angry and upset. His eyes were red like he had been crying. Marcus had seen that look before. When people were very desperate and didn't know what else to do, they sometimes looked like that. "Daddy, I'm scared," Emma whispered, holding his hand tighter. Marcus picked Emma up in his arms. His mind was racing. If this man was going to hurt the children in the school, Marcus couldn't just stand there and watch. All those innocent kids were inside, including Emma's friends and teachers. "Listen to me very carefully, baby girl," Marcus said softly to Emma. "No matter what happens, Daddy loves you more than anything in the whole world. You remember that forever and ever, okay?" Emma nodded, but she looked confused. She didn't understand why Daddy sounded so serious. Marcus started walking toward the school entrance. His hands were shaking, but he knew he had to do something. As they got closer, he could see the young man more clearly. The man looked very young, maybe around 20 years old. He was crying and his hands were shaking too. Marcus could definitely see a gun in his jacket now. There was no security guard around. The police sirens were still far away. Marcus realized he might be the only person who could stop this man from hurting the children inside the school. "Hey!" Marcus called out loudly, still holding Emma. "Hey, wait a minute." The young man spun around, startled. When he saw Marcus and Emma, his eyes got wide. "Stay back. Don't come any closer," he shouted. "I'm not going anywhere," Marcus said calmly. He set Emma down behind him, keeping himself between her and the man with the gun. "But I want to talk to you. There are little kids in that building. Kids who never did anything wrong." "You don't understand," the young man yelled. His voice was full of pain. "They kicked my little brother out of school. They said he was causing trouble. He's only 8 years old and now he has nowhere to go." Marcus felt his heart break for this young man. He wasn't a monster. He was a big brother trying to protect someone he loved. Marcus understood that feeling completely. "What's your brother's name?" Marcus asked gently. "Tyler," the man said, tears running down his face. "His name is Tyler and he's the smartest kid you ever met. But they don't care about that." "Emma here is 6 years old," Marcus said, putting his hand on his daughter's shoulder. "And I bet Tyler is a really good kid who just needs some extra help, right?" The young man's angry expression softened a little bit. Yeah, he is. He knows everything about trains. He can draw these amazing pictures. But the teachers don't understand him." "I'm listening to you now," Marcus said. "And so are all these other parents. We want to hear about Tyler." For a moment, Marcus thought maybe he could talk the young man out of doing something terrible. But then the man's face got hard again. "It's too late," he said. "Nobody listens to people like us. Nobody cares." "That's not true," Marcus said. "I care. All these parents care. We're all listening now." What happened next seemed to happen very slowly, like in a movie. Marcus could see the exact moment when the young man decided to give up hope. His hand moved toward the gun in his jacket. His eyes looked at the school building behind Marcus and Emma. Marcus had maybe 2 seconds to make a choice. He could grab Emma and run toward the cars in the parking lot. They could probably get to safety. But if he did that, this desperate young man might go into the school and hurt innocent children. Marcus thought about all the kids inside, kids Emma's age, kids who were excited about their art projects and lunch with friends, kids who trusted the adults in their lives to keep them safe. Marcus made his choice. "Please," Marcus said, stepping forward instead of backward. "Please don't do this. Think about your brother Tyler. What would he want you to do? Think about all the other kids like Tyler who are in that school right now." The gun was shaking in the young man's hands. Marcus could see he was fighting with himself, trying to decide what to do. "I'm sorry," the young man whispered. "I'm so sorry." Marcus saw the gun being raised. Time seemed to stop completely. Marcus pushed Emma further behind him and stepped directly in front of the gun. "Please," he said one more time. "Don't let this moment destroy Tyler's life too. He needs his big brother to come home tonight." For one heartbreaking second, Marcus thought his words had worked. The young man's hand was trembling, and he looked like he might put the gun down. Then the gun went off. The bullet hit Marcus in the chest, spinning him around and knocking him to the ground. As he fell, his only thought was about Emma. He had to make sure she was okay. He had to tell her he loved her one more time. "Emma," he gasped, reaching for his daughter as she knelt beside him. Tears were streaming down her little face. "Remember? Daddy loves you, more than all the stars in the sky." Emma grabbed his hand with both of her small hands. "Don't leave me, Daddy. Please don't go away." The young man had dropped his gun and was now sitting on the ground, crying loudly. The sound of police sirens was getting closer. Other parents were running toward them, calling for help and for ambulances. But Marcus could feel himself getting weaker. Everything was starting to look fuzzy and far away. The last thing he saw clearly was Emma's face, so much like his own, full of love and fear. "I love you too, Daddy," she whispered. "More than all the stars." Then everything went dark. Marcus didn't die, but he came very close. For 3 long weeks, he lay unconscious in the hospital while machines helped him breathe and kept his heart beating. The bullet had damaged his lung and some important blood vessels. The doctors worked very hard to save his life. During those 3 weeks, Emma stayed with her grandmother Ruth. Ruth was Marcus's mother, and she lived far away in Ohio. When she got the phone call about what happened, she drove through the night to be with Emma. The story was on the news all over the country. "Single father takes bullet to protect school children," the headlines said. People from everywhere sent flowers, cards, and money to help pay for Marcus's medical bills. But Emma didn't care about any of that. All she wanted was for her daddy to wake up. Every day after school, Grandma Ruth would take Emma to the hospital. Emma would sit in the big chair next to Marcus's bed and hold his hand. She would tell him about her day at school, about the friends who asked about him, about the rainbow she had finally finished painting. "The doctors say Daddy can hear you even when he's sleeping like this," Ruth would tell Emma. "Keep talking to him, sweetheart. Keep telling him how much you love him. Emma would read to Marcus from their favorite books. She would show him the new drawings she made for the refrigerator at home. She would sing the songs they used to sing together in the car. "Wake up, Daddy," she would whisper every day. "I need you to wake up." On the 17th day, Emma was showing Marcus a picture she had drawn of their family, her, Marcus, and Grandma Ruth all holding hands under a big rainbow. "See, Daddy? I put the rainbow you promised to hang up right in the sky above us," she was saying. That's when she felt his fingers squeeze hers just a tiny bit. Emma's eyes got wide. "Daddy?" she whispered. Marcus's eyes fluttered open slowly. When he saw Emma's face looking down at him, tears started running down his cheeks. "Baby girl," he said in a very quiet, scratchy voice. "Daddy? Daddy, you're awake. Grandma. Grandma, come quick." Emma shouted. Ruth came running, and soon the room was full of doctors and nurses checking on Marcus and asking him questions. But Marcus only wanted to look at Emma. "I thought I lost you," Emma whispered, carefully climbing onto the hospital bed to cuddle with her daddy. "Never," Marcus whispered back, wrapping his good arm around her. "I told you, baby girl. Daddy loves you more than all the stars in the sky. That means forever and always." As Marcus got better, he learned more about what had happened that day and about the young man who had shot him. His name was David Chin, and he was 19 years old. He was a college student who had been taking care of his 8-year-old brother Tyler ever since their parents died in a car crash a year before. Tyler was a very special little boy. He was incredibly smart, but he had autism, which meant his brain worked differently than other kids' brains. Tyler knew everything about trains, their names, how they worked, their history. He could draw amazing detailed pictures from memory. But school was very hard for Tyler. He didn't understand why other kids were sometimes mean to him. When he got overwhelmed or confused, he would have meltdowns, and the teachers didn't know how to help him. Instead of trying to understand Tyler, they saw him as a problem. David had been fighting with the school for months, trying to get Tyler the special help he needed. When the school finally expelled Tyler for disruptive behavior, David felt like the whole world had given up on his little brother. "I wasn't thinking clearly," David told the police. "I just wanted someone to pay attention, to care about what happened to kids like Tyler. I never really wanted to hurt anyone. When I saw Mr. Williams step in front of me, when I saw his little daughter, I realized how terrible what I was about to do was. But it was too late. The gun went off." David was arrested and charged with serious crimes. He could go to prison for many years. Tyler was placed in foster care with a kind family called the Hendersons, but he didn't understand why his big brother wasn't coming home. When Marcus heard this story, he couldn't stop thinking about David and Tyler. He kept imagining how he would feel if Emma needed help and nobody would listen to him. He thought about how desperate and scared David must have been. 3 months after the shooting, Marcus was finally well enough to leave the hospital. His left shoulder didn't work quite right anymore, and he couldn't do construction work. But he was alive, and Emma was safe, and their community had helped them in amazing ways. The local church had organized people to bring them meals every day. The school had started a college fund for Emma. Strangers had sent thousands of dollars to help with medical bills and groceries. Marcus was grateful for all the kindness, but something else was weighing on his mind. One evening, as he and Emma sat on the porch watching the sunset, Marcus talked to his mother Ruth about what he wanted to do. "Mom," he said, "I need to tell you something, and you might not like it." Ruth looked at her son with that knowing look that mothers have. "You want to visit that boy, don't you? The one who shot you?" Marcus nodded. "I can't stop thinking about him. About Tyler. I keep wondering what I would have done if I was in David's place, if Emma needed help and nobody would listen." "Marcus, honey," Ruth said gently, "that boy nearly killed you. He could have made Emma an orphan." "But he didn't," Marcus replied. "And I don't think he really wanted to hurt anyone. I think he was just a scared kid who didn't know what else to do." Ruth was quiet for a long time, thinking. "What exactly do you want to do?" "I want to talk to him," Marcus said. "And I want to meet Tyler. Maybe I can help somehow." It took several weeks to arrange, but finally Marcus was allowed to visit David at the county jail. David looked even younger than his 19 years in his orange jail uniform. He was much thinner than before, and he had dark circles under his eyes. For several minutes, neither man said anything. David kept looking down at the table between them. He couldn't look at the man he had almost killed. "I'm sorry," David finally said in a very quiet voice. "I'm so sorry. I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything, but I think about what I did every single day." Marcus looked at this young man and saw how much pain he was in. David's hands were shaking, and he looked like he hadn't been sleeping well. "Tell me about Tyler," Marcus said quietly. David looked up, surprised. What? Your brother. Tell me about him. For the first time since Marcus had sat down, David's face changed. When he talked about Tyler, his eyes lit up with love. He's amazing, Mr. Williams. He's so smart. He knows everything about trains, not just what they look like but how they work, who built them, where they go. He can draw these incredible pictures just from his memory. But school was hard for him, Marcus said. David nodded and tears started to fill his eyes. He doesn't understand why kids are mean to him. He doesn't know how to make friends. When he gets scared or confused, he has meltdowns and the teachers just got mad at him instead of helping him. Where is he now? Foster care, David said, his voice breaking. They wouldn't let him stay with me when I got arrested. He doesn't understand why I'm not there. He probably thinks I left him just like our parents did when they died. Marcus felt his heart ache. He thought about Emma and how scared and confused she would be if she suddenly couldn't see him anymore. David, Marcus said, leaning forward, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the complete truth. If you could go back to that day, what would you do differently? David thought for a long time before answering. Everything, he finally said. I would do everything differently. I would keep trying to get help through the right ways. I would find organizations that help families like ours. I would never, ever touch a gun. Mr. Williams, I swear to you, I had never even held a gun before that day. I bought it because I thought somehow it would make people take me seriously. But the moment I saw your daughter's face, I knew I had made the worst mistake of my whole life. Marcus believed him. Looking into David's eyes, he saw the same desperate love for a child that he felt for Emma. David had made a terrible choice, but it came from wanting to protect his little brother, not from wanting to hurt people. I want to help, Marcus said. David stared at him like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. I don't understand. I shot you. I almost killed you. Yes, you did, Marcus said simply. And that was wrong and you have to face the consequences. But Tyler didn't shoot anyone. Tyler is just a little boy who needs someone to fight for him. And maybe this is how I'm supposed to fight, not with anger but with love. It took many meetings with social workers and lots of paperwork, but finally Marcus got permission to visit Tyler at his foster home. The Hendersons were a nice older couple who took care of children with special needs. When Marcus walked into their living room, Tyler was sitting on the floor with a huge train set spread out around him. He was very carefully arranging the tracks, completely focused on making everything perfect. Tyler, Mrs. Henderson said gently, this is Mr. Williams. He's a friend of your brother David's. Tyler looked up for just a second, made brief eye contact with Marcus, then went back to his trains. David is in jail, he said matter-of-factly. He can't come home. Marcus sat down on the floor near the train set, being careful not to mess up Tyler's careful organization. That's right. But he asked me to come check on you and make sure you're okay. He did. Tyler's hands stopped moving the trains. He did. He told me you know everything about trains. This is quite a collection you have here. For the next hour, Tyler showed Marcus every single engine, every car, every piece of track in his collection. He explained the difference between steam engines and diesel engines. He told Marcus about the history of railroads in America. He drew incredibly detailed diagrams showing how locomotive engines worked. Marcus was amazed. This child wasn't disruptive or difficult like the school had said. He was brilliant. He just saw the world differently than other kids, and that was actually a wonderful thing. Tyler, Marcus said as their visit was ending, would you like to meet my daughter? Her name is Emma, and she loves to draw pictures just like you do. Tyler thought about this very seriously. Does she like trains? I don't know yet. But I bet she would like to learn about them. I could teach her, Tyler said. I'm a very good teacher. David always says so. Marcus's heart hurt a little bit hearing Tyler talk about his brother. I bet you are, buddy. I bet you're the best teacher in the whole world. The day came for David's sentencing hearing. Marcus sat in the courtroom with Emma beside him. They were both nervous about what was going to happen. The prosecutor, the lawyer trying to punish David, wanted him to go to prison for a long time, maybe 5 to 10 years. David's lawyer was asking for a lighter sentence because David had never been in trouble before and because he was truly sorry for what he did. But the judge, Judge Patricia Morrison, was known for being tough on gun crimes. Most people expected David to get at least 5 years in prison. When the judge asked if anyone wanted to speak about how the crime had affected them, Marcus stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to speak on behalf of Mr. Chin. Everyone in the courtroom looked surprised. Even David's lawyer seemed shocked. Judge Morrison nodded. Go ahead, Mr. Williams. Marcus walked to the front of the courtroom. He had practiced what he wanted to say many times, but now, with everyone looking at him, his mind went blank. Then he looked back at Emma sitting with her grandmother. She smiled at him and gave him a thumbs up, just like he used to do before her school programs. "Your Honor," Marcus began, "3 months ago David Chin shot me. That's a fact. He made a terrible choice that could have killed me and traumatized my daughter forever." He paused, thinking about what to say next. "But in the months since then I've gotten to know David and his brother Tyler. And I've learned something important about the difference between justice and revenge." Marcus turned to look at David, who was staring at him with tears in his eyes. "David didn't shoot me because he's a bad person. He shot me because he's a 19-year-old who was drowning, trying to save his little brother, and he made the worst possible choice when he was desperate and scared." The courtroom was completely quiet. "Your Honor, sending David to prison for the next 10 years won't undo what happened to me. But it will destroy Tyler. That little boy has already lost his parents and been separated from his brother. If David goes to prison for years, Tyler will grow up in foster care, never understanding why the person he loves most abandoned him." Marcus took a deep breath. "I'm not asking you to ignore what David did. I'm asking you to think about what real justice looks like. David needs to face consequences, yes. But Tyler needs his brother. And I think David can do much more good for our community taking care of Tyler and helping other families than he can sitting in a prison cell." Judge Morrison leaned forward. "What exactly are you suggesting, Mr. Williams?" "Community service. A long probation period. Mandatory counseling. But let David go home to his brother. Let him be a big brother instead of a prisoner." Marcus paused, then added, "And Your Honor, if you're willing, I'd like to help. I'd like to mentor both boys. I'd like to help David learn how to work within the system to get Tyler the help he needs. I'd like to teach him how to be an advocate instead of taking the law into his own hands." Judge Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Williams, are you saying you want to take responsibility for Mr. Chen's rehabilitation?" "I'm saying I want to help him become the man his brother needs him to be. And maybe that's how we break cycles of violence, not just through punishment, but through compassion and accountability working together." Judge Morrison took the whole weekend to think about Marcus's request. On Monday morning, she gave David a sentence that made headlines all over the country. David Chin was sentenced to 5 years of probation, which meant he would be closely supervised but not go to prison. He had to do 2,000 hours of community service helping other families navigate special education services. He had to go to counseling and complete his college degree. Most importantly, Tyler was released from foster care back to his brother's custody, with Marcus Williams appointed as their court-mandated mentor and support system. "Mr. Chin," Judge Morrison said as she delivered the sentence, "you have been given an extraordinary gift, not just your freedom, but the chance to transform a moment of terrible judgment into a lifetime of service. Don't waste it." David could barely speak through his tears. "I won't, Your Honor. I promise I won't waste it." 6 months later, Marcus was in his backyard watching Emma and Tyler work together on a huge chalk drawing of a train system. Emma was drawing the landscapes with mountains and trees and houses, while Tyler was adding incredibly detailed trains and railroad tracks. "Mr. Marcus," Tyler called out, "Emma wants to know if we can build a real model railroad in your basement." Marcus laughed. "We'll have to ask your brother about that one, buddy." David came out of the house carrying a tray with lemonade and sandwiches for everyone. The young man looked completely different than he had 6 months ago. He had gained back the weight he'd lost in jail, and the dark circles under his eyes were gone. He was doing well in his social work classes and had become Tyler's most effective advocate with the school district. "Build what in the basement?" David asked, setting down the tray. "A model railroad," Emma announced excitedly. "Tyler knows how to make everything the exact right size." "Everything to scale," Tyler said seriously. "It's very important for proper engineering." Marcus and David looked at each other over the children's heads. 6 months ago, they had been on opposite sides of the most traumatic day of both their lives. Now they were something Marcus couldn't quite define, not exactly family but much more than friends. Something new and hopeful. "I think a basement railroad sounds like a fantastic project," David said. "But first, who wants to help me fill out Tyler's paperwork for his new school program?" Tyler looked up from his chalk drawing, his face brightening. "You mean the school where they understand about trains and different kinds of thinking?" "That's exactly what I mean," David replied. "Mr. Marcus has been teaching me how to fight for what you need, but the right way this time." The story of Marcus Williams and David Chin spread far beyond their small town. Marcus started getting phone calls from other single parents struggling with the system, from families dealing with special needs children, from young people who felt like nobody was listening to them. What started as one man's choice to offer forgiveness instead of revenge grew into something much bigger. Marcus and David began speaking at schools, community centers, and conferences about conflict resolution and restorative justice. They talked about how a single choice, David's choice to pick up a gun, Marcus's choice to step in front of it, changed the direction of many lives. Life is going to throw difficult moments at all of us, Marcus would tell audiences. The question isn't whether bad things will happen. The question is, who are you going to be when they do? Are you going to choose fear or courage? Revenge or healing? Building walls or building bridges? Emma and Tyler often came to these speaking events. Tyler would give carefully prepared presentations about the importance of understanding different kinds of minds. Emma would display her artwork illustrating themes of forgiveness and friendship. They were an unusual family, but they worked beautifully together. Years later, when Emma was grown up with children of her own, she would tell them the story of the day her daddy became a hero. It wasn't because he took a bullet, she would explain. Lots of people get hurt trying to protect others. What made him a hero was what he chose to do after he got hurt. Instead of staying angry, he chose to heal. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose to help. Instead of building walls, he chose to build bridges. Emma would point to the photos on her mantelpiece, pictures of graduations and weddings and family gatherings that included David and Tyler, Marcus and Sarah, and all the other families they had helped over the years. Your grandfather taught me that every day we get to choose what kind of person we want to be. We can let the hard things make us smaller and meaner, or we can let them make us bigger and kinder. He chose to get bigger, and that choice changed all of our lives. The rainbow Emma had painted that Tuesday morning still hung on the refrigerator in Marcus's house, faded now but treasured. Right next to it was Tyler's first engineering diploma, Emma's college graduation photo, and David's social worker certification. It was a reminder that sometimes the worst days can become the beginning of the most beautiful stories, if we're brave enough to choose love over fear, hope over despair, and bridges over walls. And that choice, Marcus learned, makes all the difference in the world.